if you've been a Deadhead all your life, it's part of the lore of the Dead. The stories surrounding the wall and what it did for the Dead and for live concert sound reinforcement. It's just a monumental achievement, even though it was short-lived. So it's something that needs to be preserved. I got into the Grateful Dead like a lot of people in college, so 1987, and started seeing shows in '88. And my fascination with the wall started pretty quickly. Then you see things like the Grateful Dead movie with snippets of the wall of sound, and if that doesn't get you excited about it, something's wrong with you. Flash forward, 20 some odd years, 30 years, and I'm a luthier. I make guitars for a living and speaker cabinets specifically geared towards musicians who play Grateful Dead music. So I do this for a living every day. I eat, sleep, and breathe making, hard trucker style cabinets and making guitars. The day came during COVID where I just had the time, had the interest, had the leftover, Baltic birch plywood. So I started building little speakers, and probably, 2 or 3 days after I started, I realized that I was not going to stop until the first one was done. And ultimately, the goal is to rebuild the Wall of Sound and have it in some kind of performance space museum. So really, each one of these is incrementally getting us closer to that goal. This particular size was really developed to give the visual representation of the wall, and it kind of embody a lot of the technical aspects of it, even though it's somewhat of a hybrid in that it's got a digital back end and it's very flexible, but it does have a lot of the same features that the original wall did. It's not a traditional PA in the sense that not everyone's getting amplified through all the speakers. Every instrument can have its own bay of speakers, much like the original wall. And the goal being that the band was experiencing on stage what the audience experienced off stage. You got these crystal clear sounds over very long distances that didn't exist back in 1973. Line arrays were there, but transportable line arrays didn't exist yet, so it really proved that concept to the world. I kind of segmented this because this one it's sort of a hybrid still, unlike the larger one, which we'll talk about. So I broke it down into speaker size and location. So there are 8 outputs on the amplifiers, on the mixer. One output goes to all the left 3-inch speakers, one output goes to all the left 4s, and one goes to all the left 1 1/4-inch speakers. Same thing on the right. And then a mono channel goes to the entire center section of 3-inch speakers. So, when you just plug in a stereo mix, you can send all your music to the wall, but you can go in and say, hey, I want to make all the 4-inch speakers just do low end. And you can EQ either by the input or by the output. So you could actually EQ the different speakers for different things. I have built 3 systems at this scale, at 1:4. There is only one other of these in existence that's in a private ownership. The other one will be destined for a museum at some point. So right now, this is the last of the available 1:4 scale wall of sound. It's a fairly directional system. That's one of the things about a line array that gets really demonstrated is that over distance, a line array, that the volume drops less every time you double the distance than a traditional PA or speaker would. So you'll find that when you walk across in front of this, you'll hear a change in the sound kind of shift because it's very directional. When you get back to 16 feet away though, you finally get the full field of speakers in, and it actually gets louder as you move back a little bit because you're finally getting hit by everything. One of the first places that we set it up when I first created the 1:4 scale was at Garcia's at the Capitol Theater. When Phil returned to the Capitol after COVID, we set it up in the Garcia's bar, and we got live feeds from the stage to the walls. Another aspect of the wall that, which I think people lose sight of, is that the wall, you can't think of it as a PA. The wall is an instrument, an extension of the band, no different than your 1x12 amp that you've got there. So another part of that was Mission Control, which was the bass that Rick Turner designed. It wasn't designed and then used with the wall. It was designed as part of the wall, and the wall was part of the band. Not only did you have separate channels for different strings of the bass and things like that, but from here, Phil Lesh could push a preset button and send whatever strings of that bass to whatever bank of speakers that he wanted to send it to. So really, this becomes an artistic tool, the wall becomes an artistic tool, and the musician's an artistic tool. So they all kind of work together. I don't know why the Grateful Dead. You either get that or you don't. It's like anything. For me, it is a music that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. It is this ultimate creative expression that's never the same. It will go where it wants to go. And one of the things that really drew me to this project too was, you know, their goal when they created this wasn't that, oh, there's a million different things we can patent in doing this. They didn't do any of that. It was purely about, we want to provide the best sound, the best experience for ourselves as musicians and for the audience as audience members. And that was it. There was no planning ahead, like how can we capitalize on this? It was, let's just make the best thing that we can. And even though ultimately it failed because of the economics of it and the logistics of it, it was really, you know, something that changed concert sound reinforcement forever. And you'll see, you know, a lot of these things that may not have worked out in practicality are all kind of creeping back into concert sound now.